Lue Elizondo has been at the heart of the UAP community recently after his brand new book, Imminent, released a few weeks ago and became a #1 bestseller, exposing some hard truths about our government and what they knew about the alien and UFO topic. But he has been brought into question recently by a man called Eric Davies for apparently not actually being who he claims to be. Now, obviously, Lue Elizondo claims to have been the head of AATIP and AAWSAP, which were basically two government-funded programs which were looking into UFOs, UAPs. They kind of like spearheaded together to become Arrow at one point. So let's have a look at what they are first. So AATIP is the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. So AATIP was an unclassified and unpublicized investigatory effort funded by the US government to study UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomena, UAP. The program was first made public on December 16, 2017, and the program began in 2007 with funding of $22 million over the 5 years until the available appropriations were ended in 2012, and the government began the US Defense Intelligence Agency. So that's what basically it evolved into. So that was AATIP, and originally it was believed that one of the heads, or the figureheads, was Lue Elizondo. Now, another thing that apparently Lue Elizondo was the head of was the AAWSAP program, which goes by the name of Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program. So right now on the sam.gov website, which is basically where, you know, government arms are shown, it's shown as inactive. All right, so the Department Industry Agency is the Department of Defense. It's the sub-tier of Defense Intelligence Agency, or the DIA. So you can see it also evolved into that, and the office was in Virginia, contracting activity. So general information, here's some general information about it. So it was updated, published on the 22nd of August 2008. It was original published date was 18th of August 2008, and you know, a lot of things happened around 2008. Inactive policy manual, updated inactive date was the 31st of October 2008, and its classification was a small business set aside, all the rest of it, and then looking into it over here. And that's kind of a little bit of information about AAWSAP. Not a lot's really known about AAWSAP apart from this, other than some kind of files that I managed to find online about Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Application Program. So, you know, here's a little bit here about, you know, the posted date was August 22nd, 2008. And this is a combined synopsis, whatever that word is, I can't get it out today, for commercial items prepared in accordance with the format subpart 12.6 and supplemented with additional information included in this notice. The solicitor number is all the rest of it. So, statement of objectives for the AAWSAP applications program, 18th of July, background. The Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, has the responsibility to provide guidance and oversight of the Department of Defense DoD acquisition process, along with leveraging the DoD intelligence community to coordinate, produce, and maintain projections of the future threat environment in which U.S. air, naval, ground, space, missile, defense, and information systems operate. In order to accurately assess the foreign threat to U.S. weapon systems, a complete as possible understanding of potential breakthrough technology application employed in the future aerospace system weapons must be obtained. 2. Objective. The aspect of the future threat environment involves advanced aerospace weapon systems applications, all the rest of it. All right, I'll leave a link to this down below. It's literally quite a hefty document. It's about 7 pages long, just kind of about AAWSAP and what the program does. But there's a bit of an insight. So it's basically an arm of the DoD, which later became the, the intelligence agency and all the rest of it. But moving forward, there has been Eric Davies, who's come forward to basically try and discredit Lue Elizondo's recent claims. So apparently, well, let's just have a look at a few videos that I found regarding this topic so far. So these mostly come from Twitter.
When they came out and said that Lue Elizondo had nothing to do with AATIP whatsoever, the Pentagon said this.
That was a horrible, wrong piece of public relations. That was absolutely incorrect. They did not know what they were talking about. My boss went to report to Lue at the Pentagon in the OUSDI offices during the AATIP era. So that's you know who my boss is, Hal Puthoff, right? Dr. Hal Puthoff.
When they came out and
So there you go. There's his first statement, basically saying that, you know, he's literally not who he claims to be whatsoever. He wasn't actually a part of AATIP whatsoever. But there have been other comments coming up all over Facebook recently saying, quote, Lue Elizondo never worked for AATIP, nickname AAWSAP, actual name, and he was not in support role of the DIA manager. Is he lying or just embellishing? Embellishing. What did Eric Davis mean by this? And this is the original post right here. So, Lue never worked for AATIP, nickname AAWSAP, for actual name is Jay Stratton did provide support to Lakatsky, while Lue provided some support for the UAPTF when Jay was its director. Nick, someone called Nick said, so is he lying or just embellishing? Embellishing. Ouch. Very interesting stuff straight off the bat there, but it doesn't end there. So, Lue Elizondo's role in AAWSAP/AATIP over the years, and this is what has, he said this in Coast to Coast. So, for the record, again and again, I was not a part of AAWSAP 2021. In my new role as the director for AATIP and AAWSAP 2022, the new job at AAWSAP/AATIP was like one of the Russian dolls in tiny secret tucked within another. Soon after I started working with them in 2024, no, I was not a part of AAWSAP 2024. So people are kind of picking apart recent allegations from Lue Elizondo and finding some inconsistencies where through the years he said he has, then hasn't, then has, then hasn't worked for AAWSAP or in AATIP. And people are trying to piece together the puzzle pieces and being like, what's true? Moving forward, though, doesn't end there. There's a lot of questions about, you know, his involvement again with AAWSAP and AATIP. So whilst doing a little bit of digging into the AAWSAP-AATIP whole situation, I found this website which goes by the name of the Black Vault AAWSAP and AATIP post from 2017, all the rest of it. So basically a timeline of the entirety of AAWSAP and AATIP. So January 1st, 2007, the Advanced Aerospace, AATIP begins. And obviously this comes from the New York Times. We're going to go through it. I'm only going to go through it. If you want to pause the video and have a proper read of everything, be my guest, but I'm not going to do that for you. So March 2016, 2007, Advanced Aerospace at AAWSAP begins. Lue Elizondo's Move On presentation. And there's a little synopsis of that. Moving forward, June 1st, 2007, AAWSAP begins. January 29th, 2008, Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies, or BAASS, is created according with the Nevada Secretary of State. June 1st, 2008, Mr. Lue Elizondo begins working with AATIP. And then August 18th, 2008, the Aerospace Weapons System AAWSAP notice posted. August 22nd, 2008, AAWSAP renamed to AATIP. September 1st, Dr. Hal Puthoff determined what topics 38 contract reports AATIP should address. September 22nd, 2008, Bigelow or BASS is awarded AAWSAP contract. September 28th, Mr. Lue Elizondo begins working for the OUSD. January 1st, 2009, Lue Elizondo begins heading AATIP. July 24th, 2009, Harry Reid writes letter to Deputy Secretary of Defense requesting AATIP become a Special Access Program, or the SAP. December 1st, 2009, Office of Secretary of Defense, OSD, reviews AAWSAP/AATIP. December 31st, so New Year's Eve of 2009, 26 out of 38 reports generated under AAWSAP/AATIP delivered. February 1st, 2010, AATIP is moved to the Office of Secretary of Defense, and then we just kind of go through it here. If you want to, I'll leave a link, because this is a very long, convoluted subject right here. But then as we scroll further down, we can see things start to kind of slow down a little bit towards 2020s. And then obviously by now, this has kind of converged into Arrow, and AATIP and AAWSAP's kind of ceased to be a thing, and it's kind of become something a bit more streamlined from the looks of it. But moving forwards through the claims, we've got some other things here as well. Lue Elizondo took care of AATIP. Sounds like Lue was involved in AATIP from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So this is where we get very conflicting stories once again.
AATIP was something that, but that's where the name AATIP came from. AATIP was something that was necessary to be proceeded with on military cases. Lue handled that. I was not privy because it was mainly spun up as I was getting ready to retire. I will say this, though, that when I left, all of our references, but
there you go. So it's very conflicting. Some people are like, nah, he wasn't there. Some people are like, yeah, he was there. But then, like, as we look kind of down here, so we've got some claims here of Lue, well, once again, not actually being a part of AATIP or whatever. So it says, Lue Elizondo was not involved with AAWSAP or Kona Blue. James Lakatsky slams Lue Elizondo's book on media tour. I was the sole program manager for the complete duration of the DIA's AAWSAP, September 2008 to December 2010, and worked alongside the DHS and the follow-on Kona Blue program through 2011. Lue Elizondo was not involved in either AAWSAP or Kona Blue. So he just literally gets slammed. And then we've got more stuff, and then it's saying, funny how Lue was on the AAWSAP bigot list. I wonder who the retracted names are. But you can see sponsoring agency, all the rest of it. And then down here, Special Agent Lue Elizondo. Like, it's like, is he or isn't he at this point? Anyway, moving forwards. I don't like to get into the trenches of what he said, she said, but at the end of the day, everybody deserves credit. Lue Elizondo responds to the question raised about the AAWSAP/AATIP timeline. We're going to take a look at that in a moment, but no, I was not a part of AAWSAP. It made it clear in my book. Let's take a look at this clip first, though.
AATIP versus AAWSAP. So, the New York Times story was very important, but it got a couple things wrong. The $22 million that was supposedly went to AATIP was AAWSAP money, and there's a lot of blurring of the lines, in part because some of the people who worked for AAWSAP, that contractor effort under DIA, also helped you in what became AATIP later. A lot of confusion there, including even just as recently as today, about who did what and what happened, and whether or not there's all this competition between the guys who had different jobs. You, Jim Lakatsky, Jay Stratton. Can you sort of help us sort of separate wheat from chaff on all that confusion?
George, these guys are all great guys. Jim Lakatsky is again, he's a national hero. What he was able to do was incredible. And Jay Stratton too was able to do. I mean, he became the first UAP task force director. So these men have done great things for their countries, and both AAWSAP and AATIP owe their existence to them. But there are, it is a blurry line, because elements of AAWSAP later transformed into AATIP, the formal program that was run not out of DIA, but out of the Pentagon, where I was at. And there's where things get blurry, because not everybody in AAWSAP was part of that formalized effort later on. And so it's understandable to me that there's some confusion. Look, the reality here is we're all working towards the same thing, man. It's all about disclosure, right? And put egos aside and all that nonsense, because at the end of the day, we're one team, one fight. And it's about getting the job done, getting Congress informed, getting the American people the information they deserve, right, and getting the government to work as it's supposed to work. I don't like to get into the trenches of the he said, she said. It's silly. I don't think it's constructive. And at the end of the day, everybody deserves credit. Everybody has done a tremendous job. The folks at AAWSAP, the scientists there, and the folks over with Bigelow, they did an incredible job. Bigelow paid for a lot of this stuff himself. People don't know that. I mean, this guy's a patriot. I mean, he spent his own money fronting a lot of the bill for the government's efforts. There's a lot of good people. Colin Kelleher, Jacques Vallée. I mean, all these folks did incredible work for the government. So, I don't like to get into the he said, she said, because I'm not sure it's necessarily constructive.
Well, here's the thing.
So, obviously, a very interesting conversation there, not actually outlining yes or no whether he was a part of AAWSAP or AATIP, but maybe this conversation here might provide a little bit more context, because, you'll hear it.
Here's one I think could be constructive. And as recently as today, this is floating around all over the place. You and I have exchanged some information about it. Dr. James Lukatsky answered an email. Some news organization asked him for a photo, and along the way they said something about AAWSAP that he corrected, that it seemed like the questioner got it wrong, and he just corrected him, but he didn't want to give a comment. They used his comments anyway, and it sounds like he's coming after you. I'm telling you, he was not coming after you. He was not. He was just pointing out you weren't really a big part of AAWSAP. You were invited to be part of it, and if it had survived, you would have been part of it. But he was just clarifying that, and it sounds like he's attacking.
No, I was not part of AAWSAP. I made it very clear in my book. In fact,
Right.
Jim was one of the founders and creators of that. The guy deserves enormous credit for that. He really does. There would not be an AATIP had there not been Jim Lukatsky or an AAWSAP. And I don't look. I don't take anything personally. I know Jim very well. He's a highly intelligent man. I don't know the nuances of what happened, but like I said, man, it's. I don't pay attention to the drama, anyways. Jim's a great guy. I'm sure if he had a problem, he'd probably let me know. So just like I would him.
Very interesting. So, if I'm honest, I'm no clearer leaving this video than I am coming into it. People saying he wasn't part of it and trying to discredit Lue Elizondo. People saying that he is a part of it, and him himself saying he was not a part of AAWSAP, but he was a big part of AATIP, and AAWSAP basically evolved into AATIP, so therefore he was a part of AAWSAP. I don't actually know, and at this point I think it's just swinging egos and people being like, I was the guy, not Lue. Yeah, Lue's saying it in his book, and he's obviously just the guy to take down at the minute. Many people did it with David Grush when that was first coming around. I don't know, man. What do you guys think, though? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to jump to get the hell out of that like button, and until next time, I'll speak to you later. Peace.